Good evening and welcome. You're on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul. Kanwal. What in the world has gone wrong with India's star batsman Virat Kohli? Why can't he score centuries and runs in the way like he used to? That's my top focus on the Newstrack tonight.
That's tough luck for Virat Kohli. And Boss has done it again.
Has Axe finally fallen on formless Virat? Virat dropped or rested? Should he go back to the drawing board? What's eating Virat Kohli? India's Virat problem.
Here's a batsman who had convinced the nation through his passion, through his form, through his delivery, that he would one day be better than Sachin Tendulkar. Now he's struggling to find a spot in the Indian team. We'll have some sharp cricketing minds trying to analyze what has gone wrong and why. But before that, here are the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Controversy erupts over handbook for words issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Jumlajivi, corrupt, dictatorial are now termed unparliamentary. Opposition guns for the Modi government. Lok Sabha Speaker says no words have been banned. Bihar cops uncover plot to target Prime Minister Modi during his July 12th Patna visit. The module aimed to make India an Islamic nation by 2047. PFI pamphlets recovered from the two people who've been arrested. Deluge, destruction and death after non-stop rains. 3-month-old baby rescued in Telangana. Locals also save a biker from being swept away in the state. Singer Daler Mehendi, arrested after Patiala court upholds his conviction in a 2003 illegal immigration racket. Gotabaya Rajapakse resigns as president of Sri Lanka. He's been spotted shopping for shirts at Singapore's Changi airport. His next destination is reported to be Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Rishi Sunak leads the Conservative Party race to be the next British Prime Minister. Sunak is at the top after 2 rounds of voting. Has the axe finally fallen on a formless Virat Kohli? India's superstar batsman has been rested for the tour of the West Indies. But BCCI Chief Sourav Ganguly has come out in Virat's support, saying that Kohli has both the ability and the quality to bounce back. But the question that is being asked across the country, why hasn't Virat been able to find form over the last 2 years? This is a prolonged period of Kohli not being able to get runs. Does Kohli need to go back to the drawing board? We'll look at that, but take a look at our lead story.
And now down the wicket, but he's held it. What a catch!
The T20 squad for the series against West Indies is out. If one thought that Virat Kohli will make use of this opportunity in the 5-match series, the news is that the former India skipper has chosen to skip the series. Runs have not been coming and Virat Kohli has decided to take rest. Form and runs have deserted Virat Kohli and now he has started to lose support too. While many have been gunning for his head, the unexpected support he has received is from the BCCI President Sourav Ganguly.
Look at the numbers he's got in international cricket. That doesn't happen without ability and quality. Yes, he's had a tough time and he knows that. He's been a great player himself, so he knows himself by his own standards it has not been good, and I see him coming back and doing well. But he's got to find a way which makes him successful, as he has been for the last 12-13 years, or maybe even more. And only Virat Kohli can do that.
It's been 77 international innings since Virat scored his last century, which came way back in November 2019. But the problem is not just with the centuries, but the runs that have dried up considerably across formats. And also the strike rate at which those runs have been coming, especially in the shorter formats. Now with the T20 World Cup just 3 months away, there is a school of thought that insists that Virat doesn't merit a place in the T20 side. The numbers though paint a different picture, at least in T20 internationals. Since 2021, Virat has played 8 innings in T20Is with an average of over 47 and a modest strike rate of 130.7. But in the 2 IPL seasons in that period, his 29 innings have fetched just 746 runs at an average of 25.72 and a strike rate of 117.7. His numbers in Tests and ODIs though are worse and nothing compared to what they were before 2020. Former India skipper Kapil Dev was one of those who think that Virat Kohli doesn't deserve a place in the Indian team. He said, and I quote, "If world number 2 test bowler Ashwin can be dropped from test side, then your number 1 batter can also be dropped. If he isn't performing, you can't continue to keep the youngsters out." Kapil Dev's viewpoint was also endorsed by former India pacer Venkatesh Prasad, who, without taking Virat's name, said in his tweet, "The yardsticks seem to have changed drastically now, where there is rest for being out of form. This is no way for progress. There is so much talent in the country and cannot play on reputation. One of India's greatest match winners, Anil Kumble, sat out on so many occasions, need actions for the larger good." However, these are voices coming from outside the dressing room. What does the team management think of the current situation with regards to Virat Kohli?
एक्सपर्ट लोग मुझे पता नहीं कौन है, एक्सपर्ट क्यों बोला जाता है उनको, मुझे वो नहीं समझ में आता है। नहीं देखिए, वो बाहर से गेम देख रहे हैं, उनको पता नहीं अंदर क्या चल रहा है। ये हमेशा हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। जब आप ऐसे कमेंट्स बाहर निकलते हैं तो ये चीज ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि प्लेयर का क्वालिटी कभी खराब नहीं होता, तो वो उस क्वालिटी को बैक किया जाता है क्योंकि प्लेयर के पास क्वालिटी है और हम वो क्वालिटी देख के प्लेयर को बैक करते हैं। और ये मेरे साथ हुआ है, XYZ के साथ हुआ है, सबके साथ हुआ है, तो इसमें कोई नई बात नहीं है।
For a man who could do nothing wrong on the cricket field just a few years ago, Virat's place in the Indian team has become the biggest talking point now. Surely for what he has achieved for Indian cricket, Virat deserves a long rope. But the question is, when will that rope and patience end? Sports Bureau, India Today.
Should Virat Kohli be in India's team for the T20 World Cup? What has gone wrong with him and what should he do to try and bounce back? Joining me, I want to welcome first Madan Lal, champion Indian bowler, all-rounder. Joining us also is Nikhil Naz. We've got Vikrant Gupta joining us, sports editor of Axe Tak and the hugely popular Sports Tak. Vikrant, welcome. And Rajdeep Sardesai joins us, switching from his political hat to his cricketing avatar. And we've got Pradeep Magazine, one of India's leading cricket journalists, joining us, author of the book Not Just Cricket, A Reporter's Journey Through Modern India. So let me start by asking Vikrant about Virat Kohli now being rested or being dropped. Did he ask for a break? Has he been forced to send on a break? What's really happened?
Well, he's not been dropped. He's not been rested. Being rested means that the board or the selectors must have wanted you to take a break. They didn't. In fact, they took a lot of convincing. They told Virat he must go to the West Indies to play in the T20s because now there's a stage where the Indians want their final 11 to be formalized, and maybe a couple of games in the West Indies they would have wanted to play with that final 11. But Virat had written to the board about 10 days ago that he wants rest, that he wants to skip the West Indies tour altogether. In fact, if you remember, Ravi Shastri was the first one to say he's been overcooked. And only yesterday Ashish Nehra mentioned how Virat needs a 4 to 5 week break. And he's taken exactly that, a 4 to 5 week break. Which means that Virat will now possibly come back in the Asia Cup, which is not going to be easy. It will be played either in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. Not very good wickets to bat on for players in T20s. And I think it has been conveyed to him that even though now he is an integral part of India's World Cup campaign, yet if there is a youngster like Deepak Hooda who has 8 games in the West Indies, or Shreyas Iyer, or Rishabh Pant, or Ishan Kishan, or Dinesh Karthik, who gets runs, then what happens? I think Virat can only control what he can do, but he now doesn't control the selection of the team, which I think primarily will depend on what he does in the Asia Cup and what others do from here on till the end of the Asia Cup.
Rajdeep, what's gone wrong with Virat Kohli in your view, given the fact that here was India's champion batsman, the successor to Sachin Tendulkar? Is this just a normal lean patch which comes in a batsman's career, or has something gone dramatically wrong?
You know, Rahul, if you would ask me this question about 6 months ago, I would have said he's going through a lean patch. I actually saw him very interestingly in November, every morning at the CCI, practicing intensively for an hour. Clearly, there was something outside the off stump that was troubling him. He and Sanjay Bangar were working on it hour after hour. And I thought that, you know, like every great batsman goes through, you can go through a temporary slump. I think at the moment there is something technically and perhaps, dare I say, even in the mind that's not fully out there, but particularly technically outside the off stump. And that takes time. You need to go back to the nets, but more importantly, you need to get match practice to get yourself fully tuned. My worry for Virat Kohli is that because now you're going to play a lot of white ball cricket. White ball cricket is never ideal, in my view, to get back into real form. You need to play that longer format. I still feel Virat has a lot to offer in Test cricket. But in one-day cricket and in most particularly T20 cricket, I think Virat, Rahul, is at the moment someone who is trying to sort of hit his way out of form, which is not ideal. I saw him in the IPL also. Clearly he was battling with himself. And I think when you set such high standards, then when you don't match up to them for an extensive period, it starts playing on your mind. And that's the sense I get from Virat Kohli. I still believe that he will eventually come good, particularly in the long format. But T20, you know, Rahul, I'm going to say something which some will say, I think he should give up T20.
Why?
I don't think T20, to my mind, is the ideal format for Virat at 33, 34 if he wants to play the next 5 years. I'll tell you what he told me in those nets. He said, I want to play 150 tests for India. So when I was calculating, that meant another 5-6 years of cricket. You know, I think he's fit enough. As we've seen with Djokovic, Nadal, Federer in tennis, they play almost up to 40. I think he can play till 40. But the question then is, you've got to start deciding, I'm not going to play T20, I'm going to play the big matches. I think Gavaskar made a great point on the program we had the other day, where he said, look, Virat Kohli is picking and choosing when he wants to play for India, but he's more than happy to play for RCB. That doesn't work. You have, if you are going to play in this T20 World Cup, you're going to have to prove yourself over the next 2 months. And you can't say, I'm not going to the West Indies, I'm resting. Why not just say, I've decided T20, I've had my fill of it. I want to focus now on 50 overs and Test cricket. I think that would be a better way.
Everybody's going to be on Morgan. I mean, here was the England captain, a World Cup winning captain, giving up captaincy of the team, retiring altogether 3 months ahead of the World Cup. He could have played that T20 World Cup. He could have led England in the next year's main World Cup as well. But that's an English.
No, but that's because I think Ian Morgan realized he was not the same player anymore. I think somewhere a player must realize, you know, today playing all 3 formats is a huge strain on you. T20, 50 overs and Test
cricket. But
cricket.
in India, we don't give up. That's the problem. I think Sachin did that in 2007 when he said, I'm not going to go to the World Cup, the T20. And he told Ganguly, he told Rahul Dravid, he told Anil Kumble, you also don't go. Let's send a young team. But then T20 World Cup was a newish thing. Nobody knew that the Indians would win the World Cup. And I remember Saurav Ganguly came on a chat immediately after India won the World Cup. And I said, Dada, आपने सोचा था इतना बड़ा हो जाएगा? He said, हाँ सोचा नहीं था, शायद हम भी चले जाते. And I think you also look at Virat Kohli. The problem in your cricket comes when A, your skill is down. Clearly his skill is not down.
Why?
It is mental. Look at John Bob. Look at former Australian captain Kim Hughes. They literally cried off the game because of the mental strain. When the focus is on you 24 hours, 365 days, this can happen. Maybe this break can actually do him good. Do him good. But will that do India good? That's the question. Because Virat may come back refreshed. And the mistakes that you make while you're batting is when you play every day and you're getting out, your problems are being magnified because of the T20s. When you don't bat for a month, you don't go near a cricket field for a month, maybe you come back stronger. But again, like Rajdeep said, if he does that, that may prolong his cricket career. But what happens to the T20? Will he be India's strength, or will he be a liability then?
Madanal, you've seen some big cricketers and rough patches.
Yeah.
Tendulkar has been through rough patches. Ganguly has been through rough patches. Before that, Gavaskar has been through rough patches. When you compare across the pantheon of cricketing greats, how do you compare the lean patch that Kohli is going through with what others have gone through? Is this roughly the same, or is it looking differently?
Yeah, definitely, I think, you know, like his form is in concern, you know, for the Indian team. But, you know, like the only few things can happen, you know, if you go out of form. Technically, you might be wrong, you know.
What do you think is going wrong?
I think it's going wrong, you know, he's, you know, offside off stump, which we are all talking about. I think he's got a little bit of confused, you know. But
some of it is bad luck, like what happened in that test match where he dragged the ball onto the stumps. Yeah. He's trying really hard to leave it just to
yeah, that's right. Or second thing is, you know, like you mentally exhausted, you know. Because the break might do him a good, but Vikrant rightly said, you have to perform. Whenever you come back, if you don't perform, then I think he'll be struggling to get into the side. But definitely, I believe, you know, he should go to Australia for a 2021
You think
Cup.
he should play the T20?
He should.
Why should
because
he play
why?
Rajdeep says he should retire from T20.
No, 1 minute. I said if he has to choose between the three formats, he must give up T20.
Yeah,
that's all I said.
I agree. That can be happen after the World Cup. Why I'm telling you that
No, but earlier, I mean, Vikrant and Nikhil and Rajdeep are genuine cricket fans. I'm a Mauka-Terran cricket fan. But the fact is, earlier when Kohli went out to bat, you know, people were really happy, okay, Kohli's gone to bat. Now when he goes out to bat, they think, he ball kharab karega, let him get out.
When he goes to bat, we pray.
Yeah.
We pray he should get runs.
But you know, the one thing that everyone mentioned, that his weakness is outside the off stump. I think what you're not looking at is that weakness has now been amplified into various things. If you watch cricket on a daily basis, you know when the off spinner comes, he's in trouble. When the leg spinner comes, he's in trouble. When the seamer outside the off stump comes, he's in trouble. When the left arm fast bowler comes, he's in trouble. So there's not just one thing of that outside the off stump. Now, if you're watching cricket regularly, you realize there is too many things that are troubling him.
Why do you think
I tell you, I know that at the moment you've had new words that have been called unparliamentary, that like, you know, Andolan Jeevi cannot be used, and you cannot use words such as corruption. In cricketing parlance, you cannot use the word expert at the moment. So that's unparliamentary. So I will not term myself as I will not term myself as an expert and give you the reasons why he's not doing well, but I will quote a few former players that have looked at why is it that Virat Kohli isn't scoring runs. And a few former players come to my mind who said that, listen, he's predominantly a bottom-handed player. As he ages and his reaction falls even minutely to half a second, he's going to struggle to get runs. What is true now is, as Rajdeep mentions, he'll go on to play till 40. I'm not sure he'll be able to play to 40. You spoke about a lot of players struggling, the likes of Sachin Tendulkar, top-handed player. He would find a way to get back into form. The thing with Virat is, it's been 2.5 years, he's not got 100. And unfortunately, if you speak to quote-unquote experts, they think that probably now you'll never see the best of Virat. So if that's the situation, then whether he decides to leave one format or the other, it's not going to help him.
This bottom-hand thing is a very interesting thing. No, because every cricketer over... You know, my old man father would always say, if you're a bottom-hand player, after a certain age, you will struggle. Because they were hand-eye players. Exactly. You look at the great Viv Richards.
It happened with Sehwag also. And I think another point...
Viv Richards' average, before he was 33, 34, was in the high 50s. It came down into the mid-40s after 33, 34 because he was also, at the great Viv Richards, you know, as great a player, struggled in the last 5-6 years. But you see, in that period, you had a lot of matches where you could get rid of some of the deficiencies.
Now what happened in a Ranji Trophy game just before his last...
When was the last time Virat Kohli...
Why can't Kohli go back to a Ranji Trophy match? See, he doesn't have time, meaning what? Instead of playing some of these matches, he should go and play, which is what Ganguly did, which is what Dravid did, which others have done.
But here he has the opportunity of playing international cricket. He's leaving that out. Let alone play domestic. In those days, you never had international cricket, so you said, I'll go to domestic, I'll get some form.
It's changed.
Now it's not happening.
T20 has changed, and I think Virat's strength has become his weakness now.
How?
Virat was a very safe player. Very safe player. Technically solid. He would play test matches, he would play ODIs, he'd play T20s much in the same manner. Now, look at Suryakumar Yadav. He can play 5 kinds of sweep shots. Virat cannot sweep the ball. So if the off-spinner comes, what is the shot that you play to release yourself? Either you go and lift it or you hit a cover drive. He gets bowled while playing a cover drive. He can't sweep the ball. So Virat did not change his game, which suited him because he was a risk-free batsman. In T20s, you've got to take risk. And secondly, I think cricket is very simple. It can be very difficult also. The same ball, while you're playing in the nets, you know what to do. When you go into a match, and I think again I would say T20s have magnified his issues, his problems, his batting woes. When you go into a match, he is not sure as to what to do. Virat once gave an interview saying before every game, I'm so confident that I feel I cannot get out. I think every ball that he faces now, he's predetermined. Look at his batting. Either he'll be on his back foot, or he'll be on the front foot, or he'd try to be very attacking, or he'd try to leave the ball. If you're going through a good phase, you never pre-plan things. You play one ball at a time. And I think the off-stump line that you were mentioning, Nikhil, the 4th stump has been a problem for many a great batsman, including Sir Don Bradman. The problem now is not the 4th stump line, it is the 6th and the 7th line. So 6th stump and the 7th stump line, if that becomes a problem for you, which means that you're trying to do 2 things, 3 things at a time, which are not happening.
Pradeep Magazine also joins us.
Before you go to Pradeep, I think they are being very harsh on this great player. This is someone who has averaged over 50 in all formats. So you don't become a bad player overnight. You're struggling for form. But I'll say one thing, and maybe you can take that to Pradeep. Look at England. The best player in the world by a long chalk today in Test cricket is Joe Root.
Sure.
He's playing cricket of a kind that I haven't seen. I don't think I saw a batsman bat better than he has in the last 12 months. What has England done? They're not playing him in the T20 format. It's very clear. You see, Indian selectors must be brave enough to sit with Virat Kohli, and I still believe he has much to offer Indian cricket as an outstanding player. He can win you next year's ODI World Cup in India, but he has to make a choice. I believe
best format.
I believe T20 is not the right format for a cricketer at 34, 35. When, as Vikrant rightly said, the game is changing. Now all these young boys are playing at 140, 150 strike rate. Even 110 is not good enough. So the game has changed.
Pradeep Magazine, you've seen many a cricketer in their good times and bad. What do you think has gone wrong with the now not so great Virat Kohli?
Well, I think same thing which must have gone through other cricketers. In cricket, you lose your form. I think what is important right now is not why he has lost form and what are the reasons. Let him debate that. Let other experts or coaches of his try to find out the reason. He could be mentally jaded. The important issue is I don't understand what's the fuss about his being dropped from T20 cricket. As Rajdeep rightly said, one of the greatest batsmen or the best batsmen playing today, and with Joe Root doesn't play slow. He plays in Test cricket also. He plays like as if it's one-day cricket. He's not a defensive player, but England doesn't choose him for T20. I'm sure it must have helped Joe Root to focus and concentrate and remain fresh. I think what's important today is to realize that what is good for Virat Kohli, I think it's good for him that he recovers his form because he has a lot, he should have a lot to offer in Test cricket because he is a proven player. His batting skills, his concentrations are phenomenal. Maybe he has lost that concentration. So it's important for Virat Kohli to focus on the longer format where India also needs him there. In T20, I think it's good for Virat, he rests, and I think more importantly, it's for India to realize that Virat is dropped, told that look, it's a format which will spoil your batting. We have enough batsmen. You see, in T20 cricket, you don't need somebody who comes at number 1 and lasts till 20 overs and has a strike rate of 100, 120, 130. We need somebody who has a strike rate of 150, 160, even if he makes 20 runs of 4 balls. A 30, 40 in 6 balls, 7 balls, 8 balls is far more important than staying for 20 overs and hitting 100. I personally feel, and a lot of other people also feel, that it's time for India and it's time for Virat to say goodbye to T20 and regain his form, which if he does that, India will benefit immensely because he's been a great player.
So Monty Panesar joins us now. He's looked at Kohli from the outside as an opponent. Monty, a lot of conversation here about what should happen next with Virat Kohli. Should he continue to battle on? Is his loss of form just temporary, or could this just be the new Virat? Let's spend a moment looking at what's ailing Virat Kohli. Does the loss of form seem permanent? Can he come back and show his class? The cricket fraternity seems deeply divided. Our sports desk tries to decode what's ailing Virat Kohli.
It's a matter of national debate now. Virat's slump in form is something that has kept everyone busy these days. After all, it's been close to 32 months since he last scored an international century. So what exactly has happened to Virat Kohli, who used to score centuries at will?
I think we, as players, you go through these kind of phases. I don't think you need motivation, to be very honest with you. It's not about, I don't think in Virat's case it's any lack of motivation, I think it's nothing to do with lack of motivation or desire. People only see 100 as a success, but sort of for me, I think as a coach's perspective, we want contributions from him. We want match-winning contributions from him, whether that's a 50, that's a 60.
Virat Kohli.
His numbers have been deteriorating with each passing day, and it is not one format that he's struggling in. Form has started to desert him in every form of the game. In Test cricket, since he last scored a century, his numbers amongst the Fab Four are worst. Virat averages a poor 27.25 since his last 100 in November 2019 and has managed just 872 runs during that period. Joe Root, who had just 16 hundreds at that time, has smashed 12 more hundreds and is now sitting right at the top with 28 centuries. The bigger worry, though, is his dwindling form in T20 cricket because of the T20 World Cup, which is now just 3 months away.
It depends how you want to play. So, like I feel you have a choice. It's a tough one to make. But if I had to pick a 2020 side, Virat Kohli probably won't be in the side.
Surprisingly, his numbers in T20 International are just too good. Since the start of 2021, in 8 innings, he has scored 380 runs at a very good average of over 47 and a modest strike rate of close to 131. But the sample size is too small and his IPL form during that period reflects a different picture. 29 innings, 746 runs, an average of 25.72 and a strike rate of just 117.
Don't we have a few matches to go before the team is selected for the World Cup?
About 16, 17.
I think we have a few matches to go, so why don't we wait till then? Because that'll give us an idea of what kind of form he is in. Yes, he has not got runs, but he's not the only one who hasn't got runs. As far as I know, Rishabh Pant, Rohit Sharma didn't get too many runs in the IPL either. So let's not focus only on one person.
While all these years Virat's technique and talent was at par with the best in the business, it was his confidence that kept him head and shoulders above the rest of his contemporaries. Unfortunately, as the runs began to dry out, his confidence may have taken a hit too. Lack of confidence can often put you in two minds whether to play or leave. Perhaps that uncertainty has led to his slump in form. With age, reflexes also slow down, and one has to make changes in the game, Sachin Tendulkar being a case in point, how he managed to keep his game at the top for over 2 decades. But there hasn't been a player who has not gone through a bad phase in his career. Virat has been going through an intense scrutiny because of the eyeballs he is exposed to. While majority of the things may not be in his control, the one thing that is in his control is scoring runs. But unfortunately, that's what is not happening. Sports Bureau, India Today.
The extra bounce, Ben Stokes.
So should Virat Kohli now be dropped from the T20 World Cup team to Australia, Nikhil Naz? Do you think he has some space still there? A lot of people are messaging, watching the show, including former cricketers, saying, look at the number of centuries he scored. He's an integral part of the team. There's no way he's going anywhere.
No, well, that's the argument that you had with all legends. When Sachin Tendulkar was given a nudge to leave one particular format, if you looked at his record, then there was no way that you had asked him to leave. I think you need to look at current form and current form has deserted him. I think there is a thought process there to look at what the future holds for him. Should he be part of the T20 team? I would say yes, but for that he would need to get runs, and for him to get runs he needs to be playing. He's opted out of the West Indies series right now. We know that he's sought for rest. We've been doing our calculation as to 15 members that will be announced for the T20 World Cup, and we were finding it very tough to fit in those 6-7 batsmen. And in that slot, if you have a Deepak Hooda right now who goes to the West Indies and he's knocking on the doors, he's almost bringing the door down. That's the way he's been batting. There are other players like Shreyas Iyer, Rishabh Pant, Dinesh Karthik, all fighting for that middle order slot. I'm saying these next 3 odd ODIs, 5 T20s, if all of them get a lot of runs, then that chorus is only going to grow. So you're compounding the troubles for yourself. You're already under fire for not getting too many runs. Now you miss out on that series. God forbid he doesn't get runs in the all-important Asia Cup, because that's the first tournament he plays. Then what do? You announce the team after that. Are you going to leave all the youngsters that have got plenty of runs, much more than Virat Kohli, or you're going to rely on past laurels, hoping he will come good? I agree he's got the experience. You need the experience in a big tournament, and for that reason you would want to take him, but it'll be very unfair on some good guys who may be in top form.
What does Rohit Sharma want? Because when Rohit was out of form, Kohli backed him. Will Rohit now
would
is
want
captain
to win the World Cup? Yeah. Because that is when he would want to set his legacy. And Rohit would also be mindful of the mistakes that they made last year when Virat was the captain and Rohit was the vice captain. Period. Now Rohit will have to choose the best 11 that can win him the World Cup.
What's your best sense of how Rohit's thinking at this moment?
If I could ask you, if Rohit wants to win the World Cup, he would definitely need someone like a Virat Kohli firing, right? His #1 batsman. Should Rohit not have spoken to Virat right now and said, listen, come to West Indies, get some runs, be in form, I need you?
He did. Okay. I think the selectors also spoke to him. That's the reason your team announcement was delayed by a day or two. I think, again, you can judge a player on his form, even on his fitness. Mental fitness is something that only the individual can
But Kohli also seems to have antagonized a lot of the powers that be. When I speak to them, they're not very happy with his attitude, his behavior. They think he's above the law, and they don't like that.
See, partly true, but Rahul, that's been his strength. Like I said, that reflected in his batting. He would go and have that pop and show in front of the bowlers also. That is the one aspect that, along with his cricket, that made him a world champion. I mean, look at the great tennis players, look at the great football players, look at the great cricket players. So Viv Richards had similar kind of ego.
I think they should not drop him. They should take him into the World Cup 2020, because what he takes, look,
he's blocking balls.
No. If the form will come, listen to me. Once he goes to the World Cup in Australia, he takes. Is a big stage. His World Cup is a big stage which he can handle. He's
been a big player.
He's a big player. He can handle. Plus,
but he hasn't scored a century in 2 years.
That doesn't mean that. See, 2020 is a cricket.
But in the IPL, he couldn't score runs.
No, IPL it's very difficult to come into the form because every ball you're trying to hit the ball.
But it's the same with the T20 World Cup.
No,
but he should have gone to the West Indies. If not for the T20s, maybe the 3 ODIs.
So just
the ODIs are the best format where he can get runs. Test cricket doesn't allow you to come back into form in one inning. We saw with Rohit day before, maybe with Virat, we'll see that today at the Lords. 1 innings, and you're back in form. Yeah, confidence definitely is what he needs, and I think he also needs to change his game.
You playing against the best of the best. Like Hooda you were talking about, you must take it.
I somehow feel that bigger players have that repute to defend, their prestige to defend, and T20s after a certain stage. It happened with MS Dhoni also.
Yeah.
You've got this fear of failure. You are not fearless anymore because you're mature. You want to bat till the end of the 20th over. The day in a T20 format, a batsman realizes, I can get out the next ball, I do not care. That is when he'll start scoring runs. When you start protecting your wicket, your reputation, your prestige, that is when you hold yourself back.
I think because he's mentally exhausted, definitely in this 4 or 5 week, do him a good, that's rest.
I feel the same.
But same Nickel said it right.
But would the team need that? That's the question.
No, but that's a very important question that was asked the other day. If he has to rest, why can't he rest during an IPL? Why must he rest when India?
Well, IPL, the franchises hired them. They have paid a lot of money to them. So why should they leave?
Well, not just the franchisees. Even the BCCI would need him in the IPL. To sell the IPL,
yeah,
that's right. You'll get 50,000
Even the franchise
crore rupees for a 5-year deal.
The other thing is that you're saying that he needs to bat in a certain way to get out of form. He's trying to bat aggressively. The unfortunate bit is that he's done the entire spectrum. You observe him in the IPL from the last 2 seasons. He's done that approach that, listen, I'm not going to give my wicket away. Let me just hold on, stay some time, get some runs, and then I'll get aggressive. That's not worked. He's also, thrown caution to the wind and said, listen, today I'm not going to be batting like this. I'm going to just blast from the word go. Maybe that'll be the way for me to get back. He's done that. That's not worked. So what I'm saying is that entire spectrum, he's tried various things. He's played close to 45 T20 innings in the last 2 years. I was looking at the IPL numbers, T20I International. In 45 innings, he's tried every approach. It hasn't worked for him.
So that's the problem.
I fear for the worst.
Pradeep Maxim, if you're going hell for leather, you can't pull that off. Yeah. That's problematic. If you're being very calibrated and that doesn't seem to work, then the batsman just has all these demons dancing around his mind.
Look, Rahul, I think what are we debating? We are not debating whether Virat is a great cricketer or not, or a great batsman or not. We are not debating whether he should be dropped from the main format, which is Test cricket, which is where Virat would feel humiliated if he's dropped today from it. T20 cricket is for younger people, fitter people, fresh legs. As I was saying earlier, 30, 40 in 10 balls is much more valuable there. There are 11 batsmen playing and facing 20 overs only. They are not going to play for 5 days. They are not, their stamina, their technique is not being tested. In fact, you have to defy the technique and hit those, what I call tullas. 5-6 tullas of 10 balls are more important than 100 or 120 balls. Virat is a great cricketer. Let's respect his skills, everything. But let's, for the sake of him and for the sake of India, not stretch this debate too much that it's a humiliation to him and he will feel bad. Let him be dropped. T20, after all, it is a format which even Virat, if Virat has a zero legacy in T20 cricket, he won't mind it as long as his legacy in Test cricket stays as what it is today.
That's an important point. And since we are discussing cricket, let's talk of the bad boy of cricket administration, Lalit Modi, who has made his relationship with Sushmita Sen official. The founder of the IPL put out a post on social media saying, just back in London after a whirling global tour, Maldives, Sardinia with the families, not to mention my better half Sushmita Sen. A new beginning, a new life. I am over the moon. After the buzz the pictures have generated, Lalit Modi tweeted again to clarify, not married, just dating each other. That too will happen one day. Vikrant, you've seen Lalit Modi in action on and off.
He's not a bad boy of cricket. I mean, I think he's been somebody like a Kerry Packer. I mean, if Kerry Packer hadn't started his television and the World Series, cricket wouldn't have seen this kind of glamour. If Lalit Modi had not come in, you would have seen superstars in cricket and the billions and the millions in cricket. But Lalit is a man of his own.
Getting nostalgic about
He's a man of his own.
So what if he's an economic fugitive?
Yeah, but he's a man.
I think he should be in India,
He's having a good time in London.
No, he said, I exchanged a few messages with him a couple of weeks ago when the IPL rights were there, and I said, why don't you come and speak to me? So he did reply back. He said, I can't come on the phone because I've lost my voice. Now I know why he may have been partying too much, lost his voice. He may have been partying at these various places. So, but this comes as a shocker.
Why is it a shocker?
Because I had no idea. Because you get to know, right? I mean, whenever certain news items come out about someone dating the other person, there are gossip columns or there is some sort of news there. But this has just come as a bolt from the blue, completely surprising. I had no idea about it.
A close enough tab on what's happening off the field.
He's gone totally off social media, that's why. He tweets rarely, he's rarely on Instagram so much. I mean, had it been the Lalit Modi of the past that we would chase while he was the IPL commissioner, we would have known everything.
Sushmita Sen, the camp Sushmita Sen where nothing came out.
I think I read an article just a few days ago where I think I read it in one of those tabloids where Sushmita Sen's interview was, and I think I'm bang on when I remember, she said, and the headline was, I haven't found the right man in my life. That's why actually.
When was this?
Yeah, this is just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
15 days could have changed their lives.
I remember reading a news item.
Anyway, it is what it is. Lalit Modi, Sushmita Sen, we wish you all the best. May you live happily ever after. Make what you will of what just emerged on TV. Patna police have busted a PFI-linked terror module that they claim was plotting to kill the Prime Minister. Incriminating documents along with PFI flags and pamphlets have been recovered from the two accused who've now been arrested.
Chilling Kill Modi plot. A terror module out to target the Prime Minister's July 12 Patna rally, when the Prime Minister was on a brief visit to Bihar. Links to radical Islamist groups like Simi and PFI have emerged. A larger conspiracy unearthed to establish an Islamic India by 2047. Patna police has busted a terror cell and arrested two accused. One of them is Mohammad Jalaluddin, a retired sub-inspector of Jharkhand police. The other one is Athar Parvez, brother of a 2013 Patna bomb blast accused, who had then targeted Modi's campaign rally.
मोहम्मद जलालुद्दीन ने बताया है कि वो अतहर परवेज, जिनका हिस्ट्री बहुत ही दागदार रहा है, वो सिमी के एक्टिव मेंबर रहे हैं। पिछले 2 सालों से पीएफआई और एसडीपीआई के आड़ में कॉवर्ट ऑपरेशन कर रहे थे, लोगों को रेडिकलाइज कर रहे थे।
But it was not just Modi who was on target. As per cops, the terrorists were part of a larger plot to change India into an Islamic state with a 2047 deadline. The objective was to establish Islamic rule in the country and restore the status snatched away by the British when they conquered India and dethroned the Muslim rulers.
उनके विजन में ही टर्की का उल्लेख है कि जो इस्लाम के बियरर्स हैं, फ्लैग बियरर्स हैं, अगर स्टैंड ऑफ की स्थिति आती है स्टेट के साथ तो उसकी मदद लेंगे। तो
2047 तक भारत को इस्लामिक मुल्क बनाने की इनकी मंशा है उस डॉक्यूमेंट के हिसाब से।
मैं ये नहीं कह सकता हूं, बट डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो रिकवर्ड हुआ है उसमें तो यही लिखा है।
This is the PFI flag in large numbers. It has been seized. Apart from that, several incriminating documents here relating to SDPI. You see here, these are documents, incriminating documents relating to SDPI, how SDPI used to help. This is the membership form of SDPI, how you can enroll yourself, become a member of this party, of this organization, rather, Social Democratic Party of India. And all this clearly goes on to show that the suspected terrorists were planning something really big. And Prime Minister's Patna visit was on the radar.
The conspirators plan to enlist support of India's 10% Muslim population and Islamic countries like Turkey to achieve their sinister objective.
इनके जो भी ऑफिस बियरर्स हैं और जो भी इनके मेंबर्स थे, क्योंकि उनकी हम लोगों को सूचना प्राप्त हुई है, हम लोगों को डॉक्यूमेंट्स मिले हैं कि कमेटी में कौन कौन था और उनमें से बहुत से लोग नामजद भी हुए हैं और उनके हम लोग बैंक अकाउंट्स और जितने भी उनके फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस हुई हैं कम से कम पिछले 1 साल में, उसकी हम लोग जांच करवाएंगे।
As per cops, the accused also did a dress rehearsal, training for 15 days to practice the attack on Modi's rally. The accused say they were merely running an NGO. The cops, however, have unearthed terror funding to the tune of 83 lakh rupees and ample proof that youth from Kerala, Bengal, UP, Tamil Nadu and many other states were coming to get terror training with the accused.
More searches, more raids are being carried out. The police, the Patna police is also contacting several other state police from where what we have learned that several youth from in those states were also coming to this training center in Patna. So massive terror module has been busted by the Patna police and investigations have in this case have just begun and more arrests are likely to take place in next few days. With camera person Nadeem Alam, this is Rohit Singh in Patna for India Today.
Jitendra Singh Gangwar joins us. He's the Additional Director General of Police in Bihar. Mr. Gangwar, welcome. You've busted a terror module in Patna, 2 suspected terrorists arrested. Can you give us details of how you were able to get on that trail and how you were able to pick them up?
The Patna police in the town area of Fulwari Sharif police station has busted a network of people who had come there, and there was evidence that they used to come there and have training and assemble there for mass mobilization and other related activities. Many documents have been recovered from that premises, and they include posters, banners, and the documents related to PFI, the flag, and 2 persons have been arrested from that premises, and this has been done on 12th of July. Again on today we have arrested one more person, so total now 3 persons have been arrested.
The arrested persons have been identified as Mohammad Jalauddin, a retired Jharkhand police officer, Athar Parvez. Can you give us details, Mr. Kanwal, on how the police came to the conclusion that they have links with the PFI and Simi?
The Athar Parvez is the his brother was earlier involved in some cases. They have criminal history also. And Jalaluddin is the retired officer. We are yet to verify his antecedents from the Jharkhand police and as well as from this area. We are still on the further verification trail of the persons arrested, of the documents to be verified, and the other mobile phone which we have recovered. The social media network and their contacts we are verifying. We'll also verify their bank accounts and other relevant details. So it is the very, very early investigation, and rightfully we have done the named FIR against 26 of them. 3 persons have been arrested. Serious charges have been pressed. FIR has been registered. It is being monitored at the senior level.
According to what the cops said, the module was planning to turn India into an Islamic nation by 2047. How seriously are you taking that claim? Is that something they were consciously working towards, or is this just one of those bombastic claims that they were making which had no basis?
All the documents are yet to be examined. I cannot comment on the ongoing investigation at this stage because primarily I am not aware of it, and secondly there is no corroboration of what you are claiming it to be getting input from. So unless we get the corroborated input and unless we get the complete picture, it will be difficult. However, we are trying hard to put all the chains of the evidence together, all the person's statement, cross verifications, social media analytics, and mobile networks. So we'll come to know of their planning, designs, the actors who were there into that network, the kind of places from where the people used to come and all that. It's a very early investigation right now.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Kanwal, for joining us on the Newstrack. Let's shift to the floods. We're focusing now on Uttarakhand, where torrential rains have crippled life in the hills of Uttarakhand. Villages have been cut off as roads have been washed away. Rain-triggered landslides have blocked over 70 major roads in the state. Here's a ground report.
Monsoon mayhem across the country. The impact is felt even more severely in hills where incessant rains and floods have disrupted connectivity, hindered supply lines and made rescue operations more challenging. At Karnaprayag in Uttarakhand, the national highway has caved in due to the rains.
On the ground zero, India today is showing you as to how the National Highway 58, this all-weather road, is now being repaired after this particular stretch. Nearly 80-meter long stretch got caved in this morning, and because of this, traffic movement was completely choked in this area. However, you could see the administration has now made efforts to ensure that at least traffic movement in one lane happens.
Devotees on their way to the Badrinath shrine are stuck in the middle of nowhere. The repeated instances on road cave-ins have raised questions about the safety and quality of these all-weather roads.
नहीं, इनका सेफ्टी का भी कोई मेजर नहीं है। ये कई जगह इन्होंने जो चट्टानों को काटा है और उनको झूलती चट्टानों को वैसे ही छोड़ दिया गया है, तो उनसे आज भी कई जगह बड़े बड़े पत्थर गिर रहे हैं। मॉर्निंग में भी जब या रात को जब बारिश यहाँ पे हो रही है तो बड़े बड़े बोल्डर, ऊपर से जो झूलते बोल्डर हैं वो नीचे आ जाते हैं, तो कई जगह गाड़ियां के ऊपर वो गिरे हैं, लोग उनमें मरे भी हैं, दबे भी हैं कई जगह।
जैसी पहले प्रॉब्लम हुआ करती थी वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन गुणवत्ता के साथ कहीं ना कहीं इन्होंने समझौता किया है बहुत बड़ा। हम तो जिस समय बन रहा था हमने उसी समय कहा था ये बिना आधार के बन रही है, कभी ना कभी तो गिरेगी गिरेगी, और बहस भी हुई, उन्होंने कहा गिर ही नहीं सकती है, तो हमने कहा 1-2 साल के अंतर्गत देख लेना।
तो सबसे पहले हमने ट्रैफिक डाइल्यूशन के लिए हमने वर्क किया और उसको सफल करने के बाद ट्रैफिक अभी आप देख रहे हैं कि स्मूथली मूवमेंट हो रहा है। रही बात टेक्निकल इसकी फैक्टर की, किस वजह से कोलैप्स हुआ है, तो इस पर तो कहना भी हमारे लिए औचित्य नहीं है, बिकॉज इसके लिए जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए जो इसकी मटेरियल थी वो हमने अपनी टेक्निकल हाई कमेटी को भेज दिया है।
Businesses that generally thrive during the busy tourism season have also taken a hit.
इसमें तो बहुत असर, जब यात्री नहीं होंगे तो असर इस पे पड़ेगा ही, निश्चित रूप से पड़ेगा।
बिजनेस डाउन
बिल्कुल 80% डाउन है, देख ही रहे हैं आप, जो है 2 दिन से बिल्कुल खाली पड़े हैं होटल, पूरे जो है गिने चुने लोग आ रहे हैं, और डर की वजह से, बेसिकली डर की वजह से यात्री नहीं आ रहे हैं।
In Balganga Valley, villages are cut off as floods swept away a 150-meter road. This is one of the main routes for Kawad Yatris walking from Gangotri to Kedarnath.
Monsoon continues to lash in various parts of Uttarakhand, and right now we are in Buda Kedar area of Tiri district. As you can see, the river is in spate. This is Dharmganga river, which is in spate right now, and it has washed away the road. You can see at our behind, it is 150 meters road which has been swept away by Dharmganga river, and due to that 3 villages in this area have been cut off.
खाद्यान्न के लिए जो है ऑलरेडी हमारा वहाँ पर को अगस्त तक का खाद्यान्न पहुँच चुका है, बट हमने ये कहा है कि अभी चूंकि बरसात लगातार रहेगी तो अगले माह भी के लिए, सितंबर के लिए भी राशन जो है कल ये वहाँ से पैदल रास्ता वैकल्पिक मार्ग खोल रहे हैं, वहाँ से फिर हम उसको जो 3 गांव हमारे विशेष से वहाँ पर प्रभावित हैं वहाँ पर ये पहुँच जाएगा।
तो उसके चक्कर से 3 गांव बहुत प्रभावित हैं, जो जिन्हें घर में रहने के लिए मजबूर होना पड़ रहा है, और खासकर जो इंटर कॉलेज कोटिया गुंडा है और टीचरों के लिए आने जाने के लिए बहुत दिक्कतें आ रही है सर।
यही समस्या है कि आवाजाही की समस्या बहुत हो रही है, स्कूल भी है, स्कूल बच्चों की भी दिक्कत होगी, और कोई टीचर लोग, कावड़ी लोगों की भी दिक्कत होगी, टीचर लोग हैं उनकी भी समस्या होगी।
In Narendranagar, commuters on their way to Joshimath faced multiple landslides.
हम मौजूद हैं नरेंद्र नगर चंबा रोड पे। यहाँ तेज बारिश की वजह से आप देख सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से यहाँ पर मलबा रोड पे आ गया है।
The Met Department has issued orange alert in Uttarakhand. It has projected more rains for the hill state. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. Our thoughts and prayers with all parts of the country which are being ravaged by the floods. Right now, we'll keep up our ground reports from these flood-hit areas. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.